What's good, everybody? We're back for another live stream. For today's episode, we're going to be discussing, or for today's live stream, we're going to be discussing, or rather reacting to, this guy named Jimmy Corsetti. He is the creator of this YouTube channel called Bright Insight. If you guys like conspiracy theories or anything regarding ancient history, this should be a relatively good podcast. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more funny. It's also hosted by the Hodge twins, if you know who they are. Very, very funny guys. But yeah, it should be good. It should be good. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Me personally, I have a big fascination with ancient history, kind of how things were told, and it's interesting that to dissect certain things as we don't know exactly what happened with a lot of the shit. Historians like to act like they know a lot, but quite frankly, we don't know a lot. A lot of ancient technologies and ancient civilizations we just don't know about, and there's just so much. That's why it's of one of my interests. What are you doing? Come on. I have a special guest. He wanted to go ahead and say hi to you guys.
Hi.
There you go. There you go. There's Bashi right there.
Some of you guys may remember me.
Speaking to the mic. Here you go.
Some of you guys may remember me.
Okay.
If you guys don't, I don't really care.
Okay. What else?
That's it.
Okay, that's it then. All right. There you go. Wise words from Bashi. Come on now. Yeah, so we're gonna get into it. Like I said, if you guys have any interesting things that you want to mention, or maybe my take on certain things, let me know for sure. All right, let's get it.
Episode 21, we got Jimmy Corsetti.
Like, all right, so I'm this lost ancient conspiracy nerd. I had no idea when I was going to start making videos talking about the ancients and pyramids that there'd be all these woke archaeologists that have saturated the field that come out and they attack you. I say that I think the pyramids are older and they tell me I'm racist.
Do you think they could replicate those pyramids like today with today's technology?
This is a fun question. So, yes, but like, what union
Hell
is
no.
gonna do that? Like, what,
Right.
who's going to, you know what I mean? Like, physically, yeah.
I don't believe that. That's one thing I'll say. So, if you know me personally, you know that I've always talked about that time and time again. Let me see if I'll switch back. I've talked about that on countless occasions where I was talking about how I find it very interesting that they make it seem like we can go ahead and recreate something like the pyramids that would last years and years and years, when in reality we really can't make shit that lasts years and years and years, right? We don't have anything that can precisely cut and place stones as precise, as almost aligned to true north as you possibly could, like the ancient Great Pyramids, right? Come on, come on, that's not even realistic right there. It's not even realistic. Which begs the question, who the hell built these? How did they build them? What did they build them with? It's just so much shit, man. All right, let's get it. Come on now.
Move blocks and stack them.
I think we can, but it's not going to be nothing like that.
There's enough information that says that the textbook should be rewritten.
Right.
That we were taught is literally completely based on falsehoods, but it's not even falsehoods. It's based on nothing. I think this has religious implications. I think that they want to debunk the Bible. They want to debunk anything that has to do with cataclysms that happened in the past that would have reset human civilization because they want to keep the man-made climate change narrative going.
Right. Dude, I came across a video you was talking about the swastika.
Yeah.
I had no idea that swastika was found.
Damn,
all
he's
over the
sweating
globe.
like a motherfucker doing this shit.
They didn't tell it, he liked it.
So I have come under so much heat for this. The swastika is a prehistoric symbol that dates back 10,000 years and is found on 5 continents around the world.
I heard people for years saying, hey, we didn't go to the moon.
Right.
So I started looking at the video of the moon and I said, this shit looks fake.
There's some fuckery there. I put this way.
It's been installed out by like some other alien species, and they seeded Earth, and they did all this shit. Well,
Yeah.
explain a lot if that was true.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I'm not convinced of it. Let me just be totally honest. I'm not convinced, but I actually think it's possible. I think that, you know, when you look at different religious texts talking about how beings came here and created us in their image, it's possible that something like that was true.
Dude, do you think it's a possibility like AI is getting more prevalent in our society? You think they had AI back in those days and that was the end of their civilization?
So this is
Damn,
nothing
that's
more
just
than
deep.
conjecture. This is just fun
Yeah.
talk. Like, I have
Right.
I have no idea, and I don't
Yeah.
believe anything. But honestly, what if the devil is technology?
Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no.
Yeah, welcome to episode 21. We got Jimmy Corsetti. We're gonna take y'all to school on these on these old time civilizations that got demolished and wiped away. But before we get to climate change, yeah. But before we get to that, we gotta talk to y'all about our great sponsor.
I don't give a fuck about just much. They ain't paying me.
21. We got Jimmy Corsetti. Yeah. He starred in The Goodfellas and now he has a YouTube channel.
Had a small role in the movie.
So one thing that I found very, very interesting is when I used to work at Home Depot. If you know me personally, you know that I used to work at Home Depot, right? I had met a guy that actually had went. I think he was like some special armed forces, and he also knew this guy. I was like, "How the hell do you know him?" He's like, "Yeah, I knew him from like back in the days where we used to. I can't remember what specifically. Maybe it was like the army or some shit, right?" But yeah, I knew a guy that actually personally knew him. I'm pretty sure he had his like his contact or some type or something. I'm like, wow, that's pretty interesting. Just to give you some backstory, I've been watching this guy for fucking forever. It feels like maybe for like the last like 6 or 7 years. It's something that, like I mentioned earlier, was always one of my fascinations. Just anything with history, anything with ancient civilizations, anything with conspiracies. And he was one of the go-to guys that was making a lot of videos around that time. And he started making videos around that time. Things about Atlantis, or things about the pyramids, or things about just ancient Atlantis. I don't know if I mentioned that one already, but or Antarctica, right? There's so many different things that he talked about on his channel, or he talks about on his channel, and like I said, I love this shit. I love this shit because it's will we ever know? No, but it's always such deep and interesting conversations. If there's another person I would recommend right now that I've been watching a lot of their content, and I haven't watched too much of Jimmy Corsetti in a minute, or The Bright Insights, that's his channel name. But the channel of My Lunch Break, a fantastic channel. If you're interested in any conspiracies or trying to dig up some shit that happened in the past, watch that channel. Trust me, it will be worth your time. But yeah, let's get it.
Which is why I'm here in Vegas today. They welcome me right back.
Yeah. Hey, we came across your YouTube channel, and you're a very interesting channel. Yeah. And I came across this image. It was, I guess, the astronauts found it back in 1965. Yep. I sent that to you, Chris. It's the
Richat structure. The Eye of the Sahara.
Yeah.
Look at that sucker. So that is obviously taken from satellite imagery. This thing is made up of concentric circles. It is like
salt.
No other site found anywhere else on Earth. It's one of a kind. What's so
salt.
crazy about it is that most people have still never even heard of it.
Right.
It's getting
of course, I've heard
popular
of
in the
this.
last number of years because people are correlating it with Atlantis. I mean, I am correlating it with Atlantis.
Yeah, right. And I was one of them. I never heard of this, and I always thought the city of Atlantis was mythical.
Right.
It's a Disney movie.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's that's what everyone thinks. But like I was just saying a minute ago, is that most people are surprised to learn that legend of Atlantis comes from the ancient Egyptians, that they had said that they were survivors that were colonists of Egypt after escaping a destroyed civilization that was blown away in a flood cataclysm. Wow. So like that's what's so wild is a lot of people
Why the fuck
think,
are they not
okay,
showing him?
You know, Atlantis is a Disney movie under the bottom of the ocean, but when you look at the details, like Plato had described this 2,500 years ago.
Fucking
and
editor
there's, like,
doesn't know what the fuck
scientific
he's doing.
evidence that corroborates that something could have happened because, and I'll get off my soapbox in a second, but 2,600 years ago, or 2,400 years ago, excuse me, he describes what Solon, his great-great uncle, had found when he went to Egypt, and they described that 9,000 years earlier, there was a cataclysm that destroyed Atlantis. And what's wild about it is that data now shows that 11,600 years ago, which would be exactly 9,000 years earlier, is the time of the Younger Dryas climate catastrophe, which was a global event.
Flood, right?
Where
Flood.
Earth's sea levels rose a few hundred feet in a short period of time.
Flood.
And it's like, how could they possibly have guessed 9,000 years precisely earlier, which would be 11,600 years from today?
I'm going to give you guys some other resources as well. So, like, let's just say it's my favorite people that talk about any type of shit like this. Graham Hancock, fantastic. Billy Carson, fantastic. Yeah, like I said, My Lunch Break, y'all gotta tap in with that shit. That shit is so interesting, dude. I can't even believe it. Sometimes I'm just like, yo, what? But yeah, those guys they're my dogs when it comes to this shit. They're my dogs. Obviously, Joe Rogan talks about all that type of shit. Brings on tons of people as well. But yeah.
But it's like, you know, is that a coincidence? Is it a coincidence that 5 continents around the world have cultures that describe a flood that happened?
Right.
When now we have the scientific data that shows that it did, or at least at some level. So
that can't be a coincidence.
You know, and what's wild is that Is it just me, or does it seem like they're trying to cancel Christianity and the Bible these days? Like they don't.
That's
they
an
don't go after
interesting
anyone else,
conversation.
Right.
but-
Just the Christians.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know what? Here's my little conspiracy: is it has to do with this whole man-made climate change narrative. They don't want cataclysms and natural events that have happened over history to be even part of the conversation,
Because it destroys their narrative. Like
Right.
this is man-made and this is something new. Yeah.
right, they need that to be the case, so that way we can pay our carbon tax and everything will be fine. Mail your check.
So he brought up an interesting point. I'm going to give you my perspective on this. I think this is probably one of the most interesting conversations that has been brought to hopefully everybody's attention recently with what happened with the Olympics. I'm not too well versed in it. I'm going to give you all that I can and give you my perspective on this. So recently there was the Olympics has started, right? And with the Olympics, there has been, to intro the Olympics, they had this one event. I don't know why. It's like an introduction event essentially to the Olympics. They do it for every country every year, whatever. This specific year was a very, very interesting. And here's the thing: I'm not going to go too deep into this, but go ahead and watch the video yourself and tell me if you spot anything that's even remotely normal. And through a lot of people's perspective, it was supposed to be somewhat of a copy, or rather, not even copy, but just almost making fun of the Last Supper, which obviously is a Christian foundation. Let's just say that it's something that's very, very important to the Christian faith. So they were almost making fun of that and mocking it in a specific way, which, like I said, go look at all the crazy woman with a beard or something and dudes with their nuts hanging out and fucking all types of crazy shit. You're just like, yo, what's going on here? And let's just say it's I'm sure it has something to do with the alphabet community. We'll just say it like that, but it's a bunch of interesting shit, man. And like he said, he's trying to make it seem like, or he mentioned how they're trying to make it seem like they're trying to get rid of this narrative or the normality of Christianity. And it's interesting because they don't really do that for any other religion besides Christianity, right? Name another religion they go ahead and, try to mock. I really don't see any religion that they try to mock as much as they do Christianity. And that's a whole different discussion, but something I would just say, like I said, if you just haven't done any research or haven't heard of it, which I would be fucking shocked as hell if you haven't heard anything about it, man. Do your research, and maybe you'll know what I'm talking about. See if I can do it, man.
Right now, let's go. We're gonna save the planet. I'm starting up a GoFundMe to,
Right. Yeah. Have they ever excavated this area?
No. So what's wild? So talking about the Richat structure in Mauritania, the Mauritanian government forbids any type of digging out there because it's rich in gold. So, and that's part of the reason why, out of all the similarities, I mean, this site is made up of concentric circles, which Atlantis was described to be made up of concentric circles, 3 of water, 2 of land, which would match the Richat structure if it had water in it, which it did. There's salt deposits all over it.
Salt, told you
So
earlier.
at some point in the distant
Oh
past,
shit, my bad.
settled and evaporated there. But Atlantis was said to be made up of an abundance of gold as well. And it turns out that prior to the discovery of gold in North America, a vast majority of Europe got their gold from Mauritania. That's a detail I didn't know till not long ago. But the details go on, and I'll try not to nerd out too hard on you guys. But
No, that's fine. No, it's fine. I would like to see them go out there and start digging, though.
yeah.
And why wouldn't you want to dig up that area, because it's rich in gold?
They're right. So this is where things
Yeah, it don't
get
make any
more
fucking
wild, is that
sense.
France. So like you got to look at like
France.
some countries in Africa why they're so poor.
France,
and
that's
then
where it
follow
is,
the
brother.
money. So, like,
The
France
French. Come on, brother. The French are fucking. Let's just say, they're weird. I'm telling you that they're weird.
Gold.
Africa, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know about every country, but definitely Mauritania, which is where the Richat is. And
How the hell did that happen?
hundreds, so like back in the 1800s, back when Africa was overrun by the English, and they just still somehow have power over there. Like, I don't know, it's an exchange of money. I don't know what it is, but like in Mauritania, they speak French and Arabic, of course. Yeah, it runs deep. Like the powers that be of the world apparently still have their influence there.
Yeah, the resources Africa has, they shouldn't be a poor country.
No, this is why you got to look at what happened to Gaddafi. You guys know about that stuff, like about him having universal health care, clean
Right.
water,
Right.
free education, free everything.
And they killed him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the last things he said before they, can I swear on here?
Yeah. Of course.
Before they shoved a knife up his ass. You know that
Yo!
right before they
I
killed
didn't
him?
know they shoved a knife.
Yo!
Yeah, right before they killed him,
That's
which is
kinda gay.
so fucked. Yeah, that's what this is about. It was a homosexual thing. This is what I'm trying to say. He
Wow,
said,
a knife up his ass?
yeah, right.
What a
before
way
they
to
I'd
killed
rather
fucking
him.
take
go.
it in the chest, up your ass.
Yeah, they were mean to him. But this is one of the last things he said before he died. He's like, these people aren't Libyan. He said these people are mercenaries from somewhere else. So the conspiracy is that the Clintons and whoever else conspired to overthrow him because he wasn't going along with the Federal Reserve. I mean, there's different conspiracies out there, but whatever it was, it doesn't seem reasonable that his own people took him out because they had it so good.
Right.
They had cost of living taken care of. Like they were able to survive. They were the richest country in all of Africa, the whole continent.
Libya. Right.
Yeah, and so there's some weird stuff there.
Right.
Africa is I don't know, it's pretty heartbreaking because like you just said, they have so many resources. Why should they be so poor? Like all that lithium for the batteries that we have, all of our phones.
iPhones?
Yeah, all of it's coming from
Lithium-ion
Is that
batteries.
Tesla? Oh yeah, that's
Elon
right
Musk
on there.
loves that place.
Yeah. They need yeah. You're right. Let's not talk about it. Here, we're gonna edit that out.
I like
Get it out of
Elon.
there.
Yeah.
I love, dude. That guy's great.
Yeah, he's great.
Ever since, Twitter or X,
Right.
man, my following has exploded since he took over.
Yeah.
Now I'm making money just
Ours
by
too.
posting, doing everything I already was.
Yep.
I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Dude, there's people making. You guys, I'm sure, do well. I won't.
No,
brag,
we
but
don't. We don't, cause we kind of our tweets are like not ad friendly. So
They're not giving you ad revenue.
I mean, we get ad revenue, but it's not a lot.
Okay.
I see some people making tens of thousands of dollars. But
Right.
wow, how the hell are they doing that?
That's what I was about to say. There's some people making bank.
Yeah.
My car payment's covered every month just from that thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I shouldn't say this because the people that come after me because I'm like, all right, so I'm this lost ancient conspiracy nerd. And it turns out, guys, like this is the most, I had no idea when I was going to start making videos talking about the ancients and pyramids that there'd be all these woke archaeologists that have saturated the field that come out and they attack you. I say that I think the pyramids are older and they tell me I'm racist. This is,
Well,
The
what's
fuck?
their justification for that? Because you're white.
so no, they say that, well, what you're doing, the indigenous were colored and you're saying that they were too primitive and you're not giving them appropriate credit. So you're robbing the indigenous of their capabilities.
But
And
that's
I'm like,
what they're doing.
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying they're more advanced. Like, guys, I literally say that Atlantis was in Africa in the Sahara Desert. And some people think I'm
Right.
crazy, but I'm like, I'm saying they were African. And you're like,
Right.
you know.
How is that white supremacy? Were you trying to shine a light on how advanced these people were?
Because it's the cancel culture. This is what you do now. So if you want to just get people to shut up, you just call them a racist. And
Yeah.
it doesn't work anymore. Now it's like a badge of honor. It's like no one
Right.
believes it anymore.
Right.
You
yeah,
know?
can't all the archaeologists shut you up by digging up that damn ring shot, whatever it's called, that ring shot structure? Can't they just shut you up that way by excavating the site?
You would think the Mauritanian government isn't going to allow it for whatever reason. So I had a buddy. Let me give him a shout out. Josh Sigurdsson. He has a website and he's on Twitter, World Alternative Media. So he went out there after I made some videos on it back in 2018. He went out there with some ground penetrating radar because they wanted to scan the area to see if
The
there were
LiDAR.
blocks underground.
Right.
The government threatened imprisonment if they were to use it.
What?
Yeah, to use ground radar, no digging, no nothing. They
Right.
said if you use this, you're going to prison.
What the hell are they hiding?
That's what I'm saying.
They
And
treating that area like it's Area 51 out here.
it's crazy. Yeah. So and I'm not going to prison in Mauritania, guys. I'm not going to hold up
It's
well.
not
there.
worth
Like, poor Jimmy.
It's not worth it.
He's
They're
not
going to do
last.
you like Giuliani out here.
Yeah. They'll Julian Assange me too, or something like that.
Yeah, probably shove a knife up your ass.
Yeah.
Hey, but
The fuck?
I mean, I'm like, when I look like the pyramids, like, can you bring up some of those pictures of the pyramids? This whole area of Africa, this the Rinshot structure, this all existed around the same time. Oh no,
As far as what? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
the
we
pyramids, like,
built
these
that. We
big,
built that.
huge
The fuck out of here,
blocks.
man.
So this is the thing. They say that the pyramids are like 4,500 years old.
How the fuck you gonna? How the fuck? Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. I hate when people say this shit. Like, oh yeah, we built that. Oh my god, bro. Either ancient, like I said, the only actual explanations is ancient technology that we no longer have or we don't know what the fuck to do with. Number one. Number two, giants. Okay, sure. Number three, vibrational levitation. That's like literally it. Or fucking aliens, which that's literally all the explanations that can be. But besides that, We did it. You know you can only fit so many people under a rock, anyways. It's like you see how big those fucking rocks are. How many? You need some of the strongest fucking people, and the historians claims like, oh yeah, they got a bunch of slaves, and the slaves did it. Come on, come the fuck on, bro.
That's like just the best data they have. They could be a lot older.
How did they determine that? What metric did they use to determine?
Can't carbon date it.
Years?
So they moved some blocks that were on the outside.
Can't
and they got
carbon
some
date it.
organic matter material that was between a few blocks, and that's what it dated to. There's very, very little evidence. However, that's the best evidence they have. But either they were older. So a lot of people think that they were far older than that, and that there was an advanced civilization that was wiped out. It's either that or what we think, what we were taught in school about the Egyptians 4,500 years ago is so far from the truth. Because like in textbooks, like if you were to bring up pictures of like illustrations of what they have in textbooks of them, the Egyptians moving blocks, they show these guys that are half naked and barefoot, wearing like, you know, a loincloth.
Wearing
like,
rags.
Yeah, literal rags. And I'm like, that's not what happened. Like,
Bring those pictures up. These blocks are huge.
so this
They
is,
ain't got no shoes on moving this shit.
they moved the largest block. So the average size block is
70,
like
80
2.5 tons. And there's like 2.3 million of them.
Yeah.
But the largest blocks up in the King's
70,
Chamber
80?
are 70 to 80 tons,
Told
and
you.
they were moved 500 miles.
Get the
Guys,
fuck out of here.
You know, they say they moved them on the Nile River, but there's no boat that was known to exist from the Egyptians that could support these types of weights. And by the way, because I know some people would disagree with me with what I just said, so let me like one up them real quick and say that the Egyptians moved a 1,000 metric ton stone, solid piece of stone. It's called the Ramesseum statue. It was moved 170 miles approximately from the Aswan Quarry down to Luxor. Guys, 1,000 tons is 2.2 million pounds. And if you were to look up one of the largest stones that we ever moved in modern times, it's only 340 tons. It's this block they moved to the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. And to move it, they had to custom build a trailer truck that was 260 feet long, had 198 tires, 44 axles. Like, you look at pictures of this. It is and it took a year of planning and cost $10 million. And
Can
that
you
was just
bring that up? Can we Google
type in Los Angeles County Museum of Art stone. And the point I'm making is that was 1/3 the weight of what the Egyptians moved with primitive technology. Like, it is completely inexplicable for 1,000. And by the way, 1,000 metric tons, like 1,000 U.S. tons is 2,000 pounds. 1,000 metric tons is 1,000 kilograms, or a metric ton is 1,000 kilograms, which is 2,200 something pounds. Like this. Type in Los Angeles County Museum of Art stone. 340 tons, 1/3 the weight of the 1,000-ton stone I'm talking about. But then type in truck or trailer or just moving, and they called it This is a quote from like the.
Why the fuck would
Los
they?
Angeles Times.
Why would you? This is the type of shit. Don't y'all got anything fucking better to do than move a fucking stone? Oh my god, bro.
The largest project of its kind. This sucks.
Oh my gosh.
This is what I'm talking about. Look at that from the aerial view. They had to custom build this thing. Yeah, that. 198 tires, and that was to move a stone that was 1/3 of the weight. So like this is
a third of the weight.
1/3 of the weight, because the Egyptians.
So per stone on the pyramid was 1/3 of that.
No.
Yeah. So
No, that was 1/3 of the stones that they used to build a pyramid.
Okay. No.
Yeah. Well, the pyramid stones are
not
smaller,
true.
but like there was a statue they moved that was 1,000 tons.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's the thing, is that they're like, well, maybe they rolled them on tree logs. So I nerded out hard on this, and I looked up.
Tree logs.
Yeah, which is so dumb. Like, yeah, I don't.
Lumberjacks.
Yeah,
In Africa.
well, you gotta do lunges. You gotta have strong, lower, strength. You gotta have the glutes. You can do it, no. So I nerded out. I looked up, because like Egypt doesn't have a lot of trees, guys. They have like palm trees.
Right.
And so it turns out, allegedly, they brought in trees from Lebanon, which is the what do you call it? The Lebanon. Give me half a second here. The tree. It's a. It's on the flag. I was just writing about this the other day. I'm drawing a blank. It's the.
Don't worry, having a Biden moment.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's okay. It's okay. He gets away with it.
Do you guys have some meth cocaine cocktail I can dope up real quick? Just keep me going for a few more minutes. There it is, right there. Yeah. It is the what's it called? The type of the tree? I'm drawing a blank. Forgive me, guys. The cedar. Thank you. The cedar. Lebanese cedar.
Okay.
Forgive me. So cedar is a soft wood. You wouldn't even use it for your floor. like if you had like wood flooring. It is one of the softest woods out there. Actually, there's
like plywood.
yeah, or it's weaker than that.
Really?
It's weaker than that, and so it's one of the weakest, or I should just say softest logs. So if you were to put substantial weight on it, that thing would no longer be circular. It would crush it, literally crush it. And that's their best guess. Like, well, maybe they wrote it on tree logs. And so I nerded out. I went looking, and it turns out that tree would never do that. But they never test these things, guys. So like when they have all these primitive methods, like this is what I'm trying to tell people.
Tools and shit.
Archaeologists is saying.
Yeah. So the archaeologists don't, like, guys, I don't want to be a hater, but they're a bunch of nerds. I'm a nerd too. A nerd is a term of endearment, but they've never tried this stuff. Like,
But they're woke nerds.
they are. Hey, anyone listening, like, you got to go onto X and look at like the debates and like the raging, visceral nature of a lot of these mainstream archaeologists. They've gone straight woke. They all have their pronouns in their bios. They all have. It's crazy, and they're so.
These
visceral.
are scientists.
They're not scientists. They like to pretend they are, but archaeologists aren't really scientists.
Yeah.
Like this, and they get so mad when people say it, but it is actually true.
Right.
It's true. They're not scientists. But you tell them that, and like they get their feelings hurt really, really bad.
Oh yeah, that's how you trigger them, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But this is what I'm trying to tell people. So like people that are like new to my work, a lot of people have probably heard there's like this growing emergence of interest in lost ancient human civilizations. And the reason is because we were taught certain things in school, but if you research this stuff as an adult, you'll see that none of it makes sense, that there's literally mysteries about the ancients that are completely inexplicable. And the only conclusion is that they were more advanced than we were taught. Now, how advanced? That's debatable, but as we're just describing with this stone, they did things that make absolutely no sense. Even the precision of them cutting granite when they didn't have iron-based toolings, all they had was copper-based tooling, which you can't cut anything with copper. It's crap. Like you don't.
Well, it would take
except
us
for wood.
a $10 million truck that had to be customized for one.
Yeah, and those are 2012 prices.
Yeah.
So that would be like 18 million now or something.
Right. Bring up that pyramid again, like the people standing by. So how do you think they did that? Do you think actually humans built that? I personally think,
no.
Okay, maybe they were advanced civilization back then, but I'm thinking it's without a shadow of a doubt they were more advanced than us.
Guys, this thing was the Great Pyramid at its height before its capstone went down was 481 feet tall, which is equivalent to a 47-story building. So like
out of stone,
200 layers of blocks or 206, and it's inexplicable. Like, yeah, you can move like 2.5-ton stones, which is the average. I'm not saying the Egyptians couldn't do anything. I'm not saying they didn't build it. What I'm saying is that whatever was happening in the Giza Plateau 4,000 plus years ago is so different than what we were taught in school. And it doesn't make sense. And again, like I even heard Tucker Carlson talking about this recently, and I was so thrilled to hear him say it. He was giving a speech, and he was pointing out how it is a complete mystery that the Egyptians, we have literally no idea how they constructed the pyramid. And a lot of people are surprised to hear that literally they left us with nothing. Out of all the tens of thousands of hieroglyphs they carved, literally nothing describes how they moved or built the pyramids or moved those massive stones.
It's time to give up our new gift.
One thing I want to mention as well, and like I said, you might think I'm fucking crazy for talking about this shit, and maybe there's somebody that can prove me wrong. Maybe the dinosaurs were before the Egyptians, but why is there no like historical evidence that would suggest that there were dinosaurs? Think about that for a second. Have you seen any historical civilizations almost draw up like, oh, like dinosaur, this is what a dinosaur looked like, or these were their bones and shit? Like, have you ever seen any of that? Because I haven't. I've done a lot of research on ancient civilizations, and I have not seen one of them talk about dinosaurs. I just think that's interesting. Let me know what you think.
The real mystery, and it's actually really fun because it should be an innocent topic. Like when I start making videos, I'm like, I didn't know it would come with so much heat. Like I'm not debating abortion here. I'm talking about moving stones and nerdy shit, and but it's like it's wild. Like we're talking about there's enough information that says that the textbook should be rewritten. That we were taught is literally completely based on falsehoods, but it's not even falsehoods. It's based on nothing. Yeah. Like it's based on conjecture. Like a lot of people don't realize that we have no understanding. And I think that like we were talking about before the podcast started, I think this has religious implications. I think that they want to debunk the Bible. They want to debunk anything that has to do with cataclysms that had happened in the past that would have reset human civilization because they want to keep the man-made climate change narrative going. And they don't want no flood to have happened. They don't want anything natural to have happened. They want it to all be us. But while I'm on my soapbox, you guys should know, and this is something that really surprises a lot of people, is that the entire Sahara was not a desert 5,000 years
tropical.
ago. Right? It was a lush green tropical paradise with the largest freshwater lake ever known to exist, called Mega Lake Chad, Mega Chad, which is funny, and had a huge network of rivers. And there's studies that show people were all over it, and now it's a freaking dust bowl. And it's like, what happened? What caused the Sahara is the size of the U.S., the continental U.S. What the hell happened on Earth to make it a dust pit now? Because that's the thing. They don't want to talk about that because that right there is like this tangible evidence that a normal person could wrap their head around to be like, well, that wasn't ancient cow farts that did that.
Yeah.
You know?
Climate has always been changing ever since the planet was here.
Yeah.
It's always been changing.
But they don't include that in the conversation. Like they don't want anything about that included. They just want you to mail out your carbon tax check and shut up and don't ask questions. And so they're coming after, like I have hit pieces on me. Like Media Matters did a hit piece on me a year ago.
Media matters.
Yeah.
So he is describing something that a historian does the same shit. Same thing with Billy Carson. They always talk about how the ancient historians that say, hey, history was this way. They always go after people that try to defy the narrative that has been told for such a long time. And you would think that historians would embrace a potential story that isn't the one that was written up. But if you think about it this way, right? Let's just say they start to create a narrative that defies the way that were told that history was, right? Then all the work that somebody had put forth when it comes to their, let's just say their life's work, could just be, oh yeah, that's completely bullshit now. We don't believe that. That's not true. And that's the last thing that they kind of want to be discredited in their life's work, which of course I understand that, but at the same time, that should just make it more interesting, right? Because we don't know. We're just gonna say that we know. We really don't know. But it's like we all know that we don't know. That's for damn sure. But yeah, I just find that interesting. Instead of meeting with it with open arms and saying, we don't know, and let's just try to, I want to hear you out. They'll say, you're just bullshitting. It has no validity in anything that you say. I just find that very interesting because, like, why be so against? Why be so against hearing a different side, or hearing something else that isn't, or trying to make sense of something that doesn't make any sense? It's interesting. Oh my God.
Matters is coming for you.
That's how you know. And I was talking about
They're the absolute worst.
they were funded by George Soros. He gave them a few $million up front, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh
and
my
I don't know
God,
how much
my
money
bad.
since, but anything that he touches, you're over the target. Because I was talking about ancient pole shifts, which is what I think happened. I think the poles are shifting. They are today. It's happening. They've happened throughout history. It's a fact that inside the Earth's core, something shifts. And like, this is why, I don't know if you guys have heard, they're updating airport runway numbers all throughout the world. Have you heard about this?
No, I haven't heard about that.
Oh, this is wild. This has been going back years. And
What's
so
that about?
So our compasses
shift, right?
face north because of the iron core that's inside the Earth. And when it shifts, the magnetic north shifts with it. So that all the runway numbers, like when you're taking off and landing, those runway numbers are just based on the compass. So if the runway number is 1-2, it's because you're facing 120 degrees on the compass. But they've been shifting them because the poles are shifting and it's accelerating. Like, this is a whole rabbit hole in itself. And Elon Musk kind of vaguely or indirectly, I should say, touched on this. Did you hear about when he was on the Full Send podcast like a year and a half ago, what he said about ice ages?
No.
All right, so the guys, this is wild. And forgive me if I'm talking too much. You let me know.
No,
'cause
no,
I'm a soapbox guy. Like, I love, I'll keep going.
Stay on that soapbox.
And you guys gave me this delicious Celsius, so I'm like, I got the caffeine going through me. But he was talking about ice ages being a deep rabbit hole, and then he went on, and I'm quoting him. He said, ice ages are a deep rabbit hole, a deep, deep rabbit hole. I'm like, what's he talking about? So if you look at the data, like, the Earth is cold more often than it's hot, and that's exactly what Media Matters went after me for, because I said this on another podcast. And the data shows that the Earth is frozen most of the time, and then there's these windows that last several thousand years or 10,000 years before it freezes for tens of thousands of years again, and it happens over and over and over again. And there's been at least 5 of them in the last 500,000 years. So I'm like, the reason why Elon Musk wants to go to Mars is because he knows that that's what's going to happen. I'm not saying he knows it's going to happen tomorrow or anything like that. But if you go down the rabbit hole involving exactly what he said, ice ages are a deep, deep rabbit hole. The data shows that it's going to be cold again. And when that happens, most humans will just be gone. I think that's the missing link in ancient civilizations.
Okay, so I want to kind of mention this one thing that I found very, very interesting. I'm going to explain it very, very poorly, but so hopefully y'all can bear with me when I explain this. This is something that I've heard recently, and I'll give you some context of where I've heard this from. It's from my lunch break, right? This was a YouTube channel that I've been watching extensively because it's just so interesting. This guy was talking about how there was essentially underground tunnels, or they're basically underground cities essentially, where there's like tons of rooms, and it's basically cities deep underground, and it's under pretty much most of the cities within the United States, at least. And they were talking about what would be the utility of going 18 stories down and building tunnels that are advanced, that don't even make any sense, because a lot of the things that we say that we need as human beings would be defied if we were underground, that deep underground. We wouldn't be able to have any sunlight or anything like that, right? And the video was basically saying maybe there was a reason why we would need to go down that deep, or even go underground at all. And they're called like the Ant People or something. Has something to do with the Anunnaki. Like I said, do some research on Anunnaki, meaning ant people or something. Like I said, I don't know. I'm not too well versed, but I heard some stuff about this. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but yeah, wouldn't that make sense that if you wanted to survive, and if you dig deeper, maybe I don't know if it's colder or hotter or whatever. Maybe I'm making just bullshit up, but to get away from the cataclysmic events that they were talking about, maybe going underground wouldn't be such a bad idea. Yeah, I just find that interesting, but who the fuck knows, man? Who knows, man?
Google this stuff. Look it up. Google.
That's what you think happened to the city of Atlantis and all these other civilizations.
Yeah, I think it involves a pole shift. That's debatable. I can't prove it. Just the data it'd be the most likely thing, that because when the poles shift, it causes catastrophic weather changes on Earth.
Right.
They
They made a movie about that. What was it called?
Yeah, stupid. The Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah, I love that movie.
So it's great, but they blame it on humans. So that's the
Right,
thing.
I know. It's woke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But it would actually mimic if there was a pole shift. And
That's scary.
it is, and that's one reason they don't want to talk about it. One, because it debunks the man-made climate change thing, and two, I think the powers that be know that the next one's coming. I'm not saying it's in our lifetime, although it would not surprise me. It feels like everyone has this feeling that something's coming.
Right.
And
Well, if the shit's
back
getting
in,
hotter,
if
there's
you
no
look
way.
at the Bible, like with Noah saying that there were signs and that God told him that, and that doesn't have to mean that a voice from from the heavens told him something. It may have meant that he had scientific knowledge to say, oh, okay,
Right.
there's another shift in weather coming, and we need to prep. And because when things warm and cool, that's what caused the Earth's sea levels to rise 12,000 years ago. There was a rapid warming that happened after the last ice age. Yeah, so this is very
So the waters rise because the glaciers melted.
Yeah. Yes. And so that's the thing. So anyone that's listening, they can Google interglacial periods and glacial periods. And this is mainstream science. It'll come up at the top of Google. And the data literally shows that the periods of warming last several thousand years, which is what we're in right now. It started 12,000 years ago. And the periods of cooling last tens of thousands, up to 70,000 years. And I think that's what happened. I think that there was a shift in something, the poles, whatever it is. It caused the glaciers to melt. It caused a 400-foot rise in sea level in a relatively short period of time. And that's where the flood myth comes from. That's why there's 5 continents around the world that have cultures that talk about a flood happen. If you connect the dots, it makes all the sense.
So this cooling, everything's gonna be ice.
Yeah, we're gonna die.
Damn.
Except for the equator or something. Or?
Yeah, like not the whole planet, but like.
All right, if you're watching live, appreciate it for stopping by. If you have any comments or questions or anything that you think might be interesting to bring up within conversation, feel free to leave it in the live chat. Whether you're watching on YouTube or watching on Twitch, let me know. I want to hear some. I want to have some interesting conversations. Like I said, this is such an interest of mine, and I know a stupid amount of information about all this type of stuff. And I wonder if you guys know anything, or maybe this is new information to you. I would definitely be interested
In
in
the
hearing
northern
for sure.
hemisphere, it's going to happen.
If that happens, then Africa, where the eye of the Sahara is at, the reshot, that will become a tropical paradise again, right?
That's what it would suggest, yeah, that it wouldn't be so hot anymore. But
Yeah.
who knows? You know, I don't have all the answers. Like this is a lot. Some of this is conjecture, but like something happened.
That's what they did in the movie, right? They went to Africa, right?
Yeah. Which one? I know there was that movie.
The Day After Tomorrow. It was. Did they go to Africa? No, they went to Antarctica. What was that movie? Everything was messed up because the Earth's
Was that
crater
2012 or
shifted or
something?
something. It was
Yeah,
something like
I think
that.
so.
2012.
Yeah.
Was that a movie about the
At the end of the movie, they went to Africa. Oh, it's Mexico or something like that.
I think you're right. I think
They don't even know what the hell's
them
going on,
big
bro.
Noah Arks boats.
I gotta watch that on the flight home.
Yeah.
But is that where the crust was shifting in
So-
that movie, 2012?
I can't remember. I think so, but I can't. It's
Yeah,
been a
it
while
was
since I've seen the one.
2012. Yeah.
So that's another thing is that that's all considered pseudoscience. Like they say it's not possible, but I think that actually make a lot of sense that the continents have shifted, and I think it relates to a pole shift. So let me tell you, like, this is what Media Matters tried to debunk me on just for talking about this on a podcast. They did a hit piece on me, saying and so I suggested that if the inside of the Earth's core shifts. The mainstream science, they'll tell you there's going to be no changes. It'll be fine. It could cause some electrical grid problems and satellite communication issues and maybe some weather interruptions. And I'm like, first of all, if the power grid goes down, bro, that in itself will be apocalyptic.
Complete
Yeah, we're
chaos.
fucking. We're
Yeah.
fucked.
No, like seriously, you wouldn't even be able to pump your gas.
Yeah,
right.
City
Yeah,
water
yeah.
pumps. Water
Everything's digital.
yeah, would be screwed. But I'm thinking like, all right, so if something shifts inside the Earth, and when things shift inside the Earth, it causes earthquakes. Why wouldn't, if there was a
Volcano eruptions?
Yes.
Yeah.
why wouldn't that happen? Like if the ball of iron, the molten ball of iron that's allegedly inside the Earth, if that shifts, why would that not cause problems on the surface?
Yeah.
Because we're literally floating on it. Our the continental
It
shelf.
stabilized the entire Earth.
Yeah. And if we're floating on this magma that's underneath the surface, if something shifts underneath that, why would that not cause problems? And so I think that rapid continental displacement, as you'd call it, probably happened.
That's what they
Yeah,
called
because
it
they
in the
said
movie,
everything
too.
was together. Like Africa used to be touching like August.
Yep.
used to be
Pangea.
hooked up,
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
and it's just been doing like this.
yeah.
Spread.
You know what? When I think about history and what I learned in school, everybody always brings up Christopher Columbus.
Yeah, that
You know,
asshole. That guy's a piece of shit. That guy's a rapist.
Right. Why we celebrate him, and then on top of that, when I think of Africa, it's synonymous with slavery and lack of culture. I mean, not lack of culture, but lack of technology.
Yeah.
Just very poor, inept people.
Right. You know what's wild? So I am completely anti-woke. Like when I see all these people bringing down statues and everything, I'm repulsed. But the one thing, and people can make fun of me all they want, but I'm like, when they should tear down Christopher Columbus statues. He didn't discover America.
Right.
He
He
discovered
was already here.
Right.
Then he got lost. That's how he
yes.
found it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And by the way, a lot of people don't realize like he was literally they weren't searching for the new world. They were looking for gold in India.
Yeah.
And they got lost.
That's why he called the people here Indians.
Exactly. That's the truth. And so I'm like,
right.
get rid of him. Like a lot of people I notice every year people will start say indigenous Native Day instead of Christopher Columbus Day. I actually support that because I'm like that guy he was bad. Like him and his legions of boats like decimated the people. They were like gang raping the women, the natives, and like they were like evil. They were not good people. They were scoundrels. They were pirates. Like they were they weren't like good guys like looking for something. They were for new land. They were just looking for gold. And they were willing to kill people for it.
Yeah.
Right.
They shouldn't be celebrated. Like that guy's trash. I think they should teach about him. Be like, hey, this is how not to be. This guy was dirty as it gets.
Right.
And so, I don't know. Yeah, cancel his ass. Fine.
Cancel him. That's
It's
crazy.
like everybody's after a narrative, and they're not after the truth.
Yeah.
Like told Christopher Columbus, Africa.
Yeah, media matters. It's like they have their own agenda. You should, like whenever you're a journalist or somebody, a scientist, you should be looking for the truth. Your agenda or what you think shouldn't even matter. You should be seeking the truth, and nobody wants to do that anymore.
You know what it is?
Facts. Big
So a lot
facts.
of these scientists are like, think about it. A common denominator with scientists is most of them are like atheists, so they don't believe in a creator. But like, it's in human nature to believe in something. So I think they look at their textbooks and their wisdom that's what they believe in. So when you question that, like if you go up to someone that's a hardcore religious person, you tell them God doesn't exist, they get mad. You tell somebody like that they strongly believe in anything, just like whether it's politics or anything else, people get defensive. Like you're questioning your entire existence and what you know.
Right.
And so that's how it is with these scientists, is that that's what they believe in. They believe in the science. And when you question it, they lose their minds. Like they respond viciously.
Textbook case of a confirmation bias.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yeah. We need to trash Christopher Columbus.
Yeah. Look at us solve the world's problems here.
They say he was the only one. I think there had to been. I mean, if they're building these pyramids in Africa, I'm thinking they had the technology to sell the world.
Yes.
You would think.
So there's all these similarities that go across the continents, like stonework that looks remarkably similar between Egypt
Grand
and
Canyon?
Peru.
Right.
Grand
And so
Canyon,
that's what
no?
they teach. They're like, in 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and that's the end of it. And I'm like, no. Like,
They're hiding something.
right? And why couldn't humans in ancient times have built a boat and sailed? They would. Like, humans are really curious. Like, you get some person that loves to go exploring, and they'll risk their whole life to do it. It makes no sense that they couldn't have built a boat and done it. And there's evidence that strongly supports it, that there's similarities, like I was just mentioning, that go across multiple continents around the world, whether it's polygonal stones, like polygonal stones that are all those weird shapes that are found in 4 continents around the world. Pyramids are found in 4 continents around the world.
Dude, I came across a video you was talking about the swastika.
Yeah.
I had no idea that swastika was found all over the globe, and Hitler actually stole that.
Yeah. So this is... So
He
this,
didn't steal it, he liked it.
Yeah. So I have come under so much heat for this. I've been waiting. Like I backburned that for a few years. Like I learned that the swastika is a prehistoric symbol that dates back 10,000 years and is found on 5 continents around the world: Asia, Africa, North America, Europe, South America.
Dude,
And
in your video, I saw a Native American with that around his
yes,
head. Can we Google that?
Yeah. So if you typed in Hopewell Mound people swastika or just Native American swastika, it dates back in North America more than 22 to possibly 2,500 years ago.
What's the significance of that symbol? What
That's
does it
crazy,
really?
by the way.
So this is debatable. Like some people think it means the Milky Way galaxy and like the stars shifting. Like it's. I don't think anyone knows for sure.
Right.
But it has one thing it has always meant. Like whether it's dating back from ancient Hindu, thousands of years, it's a symbol of peace.
There it is.
And again, 5 continents around the world, prehistoric times. This has nothing to do with Hitler. I tell people because now a bunch of people are saying Jimmy Corsetti, they're trying to tie me to anti-Semitism. I'm like, this has nothing to do with Hitler. Like Hitler, like this is thousands of years before him.
Click that one Chris with the head feathers on.
Yep, ancient
Crazy.
Navajo, or I shouldn't say ancient, but Navajo.
Yeah, he is ancient.
Yeah, look at him.
Can you make that? It doesn't get any bigger.
And that one's from like 100 years ago, whatever. But the symbol from Native Americans dates back thousands of years ago, and it's all over the American Southwest. The Navajo, the Hopi Indian, the Yavapai Indian, to name a few. It's even as far away as Alaska.
So Hitler saw this Indian smoking on his peace pipe.
Yeah.
Man, I like that little insignia he got going.
The one thing
He said,
I
"I gotta
can't
have that."
answer to is why he chose this symbol. Like, there's all kinds of conjecture, but I'm like, he was obsessed with archaeology. A lot of people don't know this. He went looking for Thor's hammer, the Ark of the Covenant, and the Holy Grail, and other things. He was looking for giants in Africa. He had a task force of them looking and doing. They called it Nazi archaeology. This is a real thing. People can Google this. This is an established fact. So people. Think,
That's so interesting, dude. That's so interesting. I didn't know that, actually. I didn't know that shit. That shit's crazy, though.
oh, he's talking about Indiana Jones here. Like, no, Indiana Jones was inspired based on true events. Loosely inspired, that the Nazis did go look for ancient archaeology. And I can't figure out why. And modern people say, it's because he was obsessed with the Aryans. He cared about this white race. I'm like, just stop for a second. Like, this has nothing to do with color of skin. This has to do with something that was found 10,000 years ago on 5 different continents. And so I made a Twitter post last September of showing the swastika at Baalbek in Lebanon. And the Twitter post was, did Hitler and the Nazis know something about ancient civilizations that we don't? That's the tweet. And I got obliterated. Obliterated. Like, Jimmy Corsetti, archaeologists were saying this, like professors were saying Jimmy Corsetti is spreading disgusting Nazism. And I'm like, no, I'm not. It's a sincere question. Like, why this symbol is nothing. All right.
It's almost
fuck
like
Hitler. All right. There, I cover my base. Like, fuck Hitler. Like, fuck this guy. I don't, but like, put aside the modern ideology aside for a second, and let's focus on the ancient stuff. Like, there's, he obviously, in my impression, he knew something we didn't.
He had to, because that symbol is It's almost like they're 2 steps ahead of you. When you start bringing these things up, it's like they already got a answer to refute what you're saying. Oh, we're just going to call them a white supremacist and get them counseled. So whatever you say, they're not going to take serious.
Right.
For him to have that symbol, you have to have known the significance behind that symbol, because it's like you said, it's found thousands of years ago.
Right. That's what I think. I want to know why. Like, if I go back in time, because you got to preface it like, all right, fine, I'd shoot Hitler. But before I do, I'm going to waterboard him for some answers about the archaeology. Like, tell me what you know about the Ark of the Covenant. Speak up. Hurry up. Yeah, it's wild, but that's the thing. So you can't talk about it. Like, people instantly shut down. Like when you bring up the swastika, because it's an upsetting symbol. But I'm like, it was once a symbol of peace, and it meant something to different people.
I thought Hitler invented that symbol.
Yeah, but
That's what everyone thinks. That's what you think.
the most important thing about that symbol is he didn't create it. It's like it's like it's like the Nike logo. Y'all can use the Nike logo for hate and evil, and you can say, hey, it's a symbol of hate. No, I took the symbol because I liked it. And I did all for things. That's the same thing with that swastika.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's wild. Like, yeah, so you saw me posting about that? Or,
Yeah, so
It's like, whoa.
yeah, it's touchy. It's explosive and provocative, but like, I don't care. Like, in my mind, like, I know where my heart's at, and people who know me know where my heart's at. So I'm like, if people can't handle it, like, now's the time to be provocative. Like, this world's falling apart. The entire education system has been corrupted. They're teaching trash in school. They're not teaching anyone to ask questions. And
They're teaching them how to. They're not teaching them how to think. They're telling them what to think.
Just sit here and be quiet too.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's such a liberal mindset. You don't question anything. The government is good. Do what they tell you to do. They got our best interests.
Right.
But you don't supposed to second guess anything.
Right. And hey, the thing is, like, I can appreciate how, like, that mindset, because that was once me. Like, so I was a high school senior in 9/11, and then I ended up volunteering a couple years after I got to high school to go volunteer to go to Iraq, because I believe George Bush's lies and all that. So like, I know.
all of
Oh
it.
man,
Right?
thank God you made it back. Yeah.
And
So I was right.
but at one point,
Earlier.
like, I was literally having fierce arguments with my liberal friends justifying the Iraq War before I ever even went. And now in hindsight, like, I knew I was right. I was like, Saddam Hussein is the modern day Hitler. He's killing his own people. He's gassing them. He was torturing his Olympic team when they came back without medals. I'm like, this is disgusting. Someone's got to stop him.
Right.
And then now, knowing everything that I do now and all lies and everything, like, and having that, I call it an awakening, I get it. I'm like, I understand now how some people, like, it's unbelievable to think that almost everything you were taught could be false. I'm not saying 100% is false. I'm not saying everything they teach is false. But, like, so many things on how the world actually works is just completely different than what most, average Joe
People
walking down
have
the street.
ulterior motives in everything.
Yeah.
Everybody has a motive.
Yeah.
Hey, but we're all about democracy here.
Yeah.
We
yeah.
go in and overturn other governments, have people assassinate and kill, but we're all about democracy.
Yeah. You know, it's actually kind of wild. So, like, I look back at it, like, being an invader to Iraq. I look at it now, I'm like, oh, whoa. I was like a Roman soldier. So, like, we were the most powerful, army ever to exist. Well, the Romans were that at one point. And how did they conquer Europe and everything? They went and then they just took over. They conquered. And I was like, man, that was me too. And so I see, like, oh, I was a puppet. And it's upsetting to figure it out at first, but then it's very liberating afterwards. It's like, well, that can't happen to me again.
Right.
And now I can tell other people, like, the warning signs to look for. I'm like, you're being lied to.
Right.
If you can't ask a question about something without being attacked for it, that's a red flag.
Right.
You know?
Fair enough.
Just for asking questions.
Right. Hey, but the elections are fine.
Totally fine.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. God bless France. Everything's fine there too.
Fuck no.
Yeah, that place is going to shit.
Hey, France, have you seen what do you call them, prime ministers or presidents out there?
I think they have both. In France, they have a president.
So they're talking about France before the shit that just happened. That's so crazy. This is, they gotta revisit that. This was 2 weeks ago. Man, only if they knew the the conversation that they would have. I'll tell you that.
And they have a prime. I could be
Really?
wrong.
Yeah, I
Maybe
don't
I'm
know.
wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
One of them, I forget his name, but his wife looks like a man.
Dude, Candace.
Candace
Candace-
brought that up. Yeah.
All right, so I looked into that.
Yeah. You looked into that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think she's right. I first heard it, and I'm like, let me even say, like, so when it comes to, like, people talking about Michelle Obama and people are calling her Big Mike, this goes back years.
Right.
And when I first heard it, I was like, what are people talking about? So I Googled, and the first thing I thought was like, is there a childhood photo of her? And there is. Well, there's
Yeah?
one. There's at least one. Some people say it's
okay.
fake, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I think it's real. And so I'm like, I don't think she is a man. I could be wrong. Watch, I'm gonna get so much hate for just saying this. Like,
Yeah. Right.
he's lying.
He's just a dude.
but like,
Big Mike.
I'm thinking she's a woman. And but never mind her. If you look at, was it Macron's wife? Is that
Yeah,
what-
Macron. Yeah. Pull up, Chris.
This is wild. Like there's
Macron's
so many details about this. Like when
Yeah.
I first saw her, I was like, there's something off-putting about the way she looks. I'm not trying to say attractive level. I'm not
She's
trying to
older.
be mean. Right, but like there's some weird shit there. Like she was allegedly fit like if she's a woman, she was 30 dating a 15-year-old.
Right. Yeah.
And
it's a huge age difference.
and one thing that Candace was pointing out is that the cover-up. So I was a fraud investigator for a retail company, and one thing I learned that they teach you is that if one of the biggest indicators that something has happened always involves the
What do y'all
cover-up. If
think?
people are not being honest or upfront, that is a huge red flag because
Right.
honest people will share things with you. They'll be like, I didn't do anything. What are you talking about? Let me tell you. Let me explain. They sent their equivalent of the Secret Service to the reporters' houses for even investigating this. Like this stuff goes deep, and I'm like, they can't provide one photo of her from years earlier. People are trying to say it's actually the brother and all this other stuff. And it's like,
Right.
well, where's the brother? And the evidence is in the cover-up. So I'm not here to tell you, like, I don't know what the real answer is.
Right.
But at first I heard it, and I'm like, well, this sounds silly. And then I looked into some of the details. I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah.
But whatever. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm the exact same way. Oh man, it's just a conspiracy. People are loony bins. I heard people for years saying, "Hey, we didn't go to the moon." Right?
Right.
Dude, come on. Why would we fake that?
Right.
So I started looking at the video of the moon land. I said, "This shit looks fake."
There's some fuckery there. Like, I don't even know what to think. Like, I've been back and forth on the moon thing, and I kind of like go along with, because I want to believe we went.
Yeah.
Right?
It looked like a low budget movie though.
It looks like trash.
Look,
And
and they're talking like they're on the cell phone talking to
Yeah.
Houston.
just
And
film
they're filming when they're taking off from the moon. Yeah.
It's because they had signal. You don't know. You don't know. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
like, I want to believe that we went, and I like what Alex Jones says about it. He says the real conspiracy is that it wasn't the first time that we had went, and that the reality is that it's a mausoleum that a bunch of people died to make it a successful event, and that what Neil Armstrong discovered when he went there is that, oh, there's a bunch of other dead astronauts that had tried to go, and the reason why there was a big cover-up is because we don't want to look weak in front of the Russians. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if we went. Like, I want to believe we went.
Yeah.
I've looked at satellite imagery of all those tracks when they drove around the rovers, and you can see it from space. But I'm like, and then the devil advocate, people say, well, how do you know those are real photos?
Right.
Like, you don't know anything anymore. So I don't know. I'm letting other people argue that. I don't know what to think.
I
about
don't
the
think
moon
we went because if we went, we would have went back.
See, that's the thing. And I want to talk to people like, why do you keep everyone talking about Mars? What about the moon? I want to see some 4K footage of the moon.
I seen a
Right?
couple of his rockets go up and come straight back down to land, and boom!
Yeah. Why won't he go up?
Right.
He needs to go.
All right, I want to talk about this. I find this topic, of course, very interesting. I spent a lot of time thinking about this shit. Do I think that we've been to the moon? I don't fucking know. If I'm gonna be honest, I don't know. Can I confidently say that we've been to the moon? I cannot. That's what I'll say. I can confidently say that I don't know. That's for damn sure. Is there a lot of fishy shit? Of course there is. Plenty and plenty of fishy shit that goes on. If you've watched the movie that just came out recently called Fly Me to the Moon, where they were talking about a fake moon landing, please let me know in the comments. I recently watched the movie. I thought it was a very, very interesting film. And obviously obviously you got to watch it, but there's an obvious turn to it where they're just kind of make it seem like haha, like, yeah, you have to watch it for yourself. But do I think we went? If I had to place money on it, I think the narrative sounds better that we didn't go. I think a lot of people can suggest a lot more evidence of why we didn't go. Just one of the blatant ones, Buzz Aldrin, who was supposed to be the second astronaut on the moon or whatever, with Neil Armstrong. Neil Armstrong was a person that really didn't like to get questioned too much. Buzz Aldrin said that he wouldn't put his hand on the Bible and said that he would go, that they've been to the moon. There's certain things like that that are very, very fishy when it comes to talking about that. And here's the thing, if you're a person that's just like, oh champ, what the fuck are you talking about? You're like, you're an idiot, right? We've been to the moon, of course we've been to the moon. Do some more research. Tell me what you find. We do some more research. It is interesting that we haven't went back since the 70s or something like that. We have no astronauts that have been on the moon since the 70s. Come on now. With all the money and all the debt that we're in, why the fuck would we not go back? With all the technological advances that we've made, why would we not go back? Yeah, I find that shit. I find that shit fishy. I'll tell you that.
Well, if I had a rocket company like him,
Yeah.
wouldn't you go for at least one spin? Wouldn't you want to be weightless for a minute and play around like, look, it's floating. This is fun. Why wouldn't you do that?
Right.
I mean, I guess it's risky. You might die.
It's
when
hella
you,
risky.
Well, we went in
Because we never been to the moon. He's trying to figure all this shit out right now.
Yeah, we supposedly went in the 60s, late 60s.
Man.
It's 2024.
Do you want to know another conspiracy about the moon? Is that some people say that we actually did go, but it's what we found there, the reason why they're trying to cover it up. And this is so wild, but bear with me for a half a second.
Okay.
The conspiracy is that the moon is a hollowed out planetoid that was brought here by
Autobots.
by advanced beings eons ago. And because the moon is so many anomalies about it. For example, it's indicative that it could be hollow and that its mass doesn't compute for its size. And the moon, like, you know how we have like a near perfect solar eclipse? It's like 99.9 something percent, almost perfect. If it wasn't exactly its size and exactly its distance, that wouldn't even be possible. But because it is, the moon is responsible for not just our seasons, but the ocean tides. And the ocean tides.
Oh, that's yeah, the moon.
If it wasn't for the moon, we'd have like a vastly different, longer summer and winter, and the moon or the tides would be far more extreme. And like, I forgot what the percentage, but it's a massive percentage of all ocean life is directly related to the tides. And if it wasn't, so if you want to call it a conspiracy, is that the moon was essentially an ark of some kind that was brought here to establish the human race. And this is so deep, but like, hear me out for one more thing, is that if you look at the craters of the moon, look how shallow they are. They're exceptionally wide, but extremely shallow. And the conspiracy is that the reason why the moon is so shiny is because it's metallic dust that was hollowed out and from the inner core. And so that the conspiracy is that the inside, that it is hollow and there's something inside of it, that it was a space station. I'm not saying I believe in all this. I'm just sharing what people, the internet has said.
I've never heard any of that shit.
I
Have you
don't
heard
know
of
what
this?
to believe. Like, it's a fun thing to think about. It is really, really odd. There's anomalies about it they can't figure out. The moon is like no other satellite in the whole solar system. It's so unique.
So life on this planet would be far different if there was no moon.
We'd have far less life. The ocean life, which affects all kinds of things, insects and all kinds of other things to be affected. It's wild. Like, it really is. Like, if it wasn't for the light of the moon at night, there's so many species of insects that wouldn't even exist. And insects are responsible for all kinds of life. You know, like these small little guys are responsible for so many animals that will eat them, and birds and other things that it's like, you know, life gives life gives life. And there's other things about it too, like such as that it's locked and we can only see the one side of it. You know, they call it the far side or the dark side of the moon. It's not that it's dark, but like it's tidal locked and it doesn't rotate where other moons on other planets actually do. It's weird.
Yeah.
So
you think it's a fake? Well, people think it's a fake planet.
I put it this way.
It's been installed out by like some other alien species, and they seeded Earth, and they did all this shit. Well,
Yeah.
it would
That's
explain
what
a lot
that's what
if that
they're
was
like-
true. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what they're alluding to.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I'm not convinced of it. Let me just be totally honest. I'm not convinced, but I actually think it's possible. I think that, you know, when you look at different religious texts talking about how beings came here and created us in their image, it's possible that something like that was true. And if it was true, let's just pretend the astronauts went there legitimately and they saw evidence of an ancient advanced technology on the moon. Let's just pretend. Would they share that with us?
Hell
Would
no.
would it, right? It would debunk every religion. It would make, you know, a vast majority of the world question everything they ever believed. It might make people not even feel like going to work anymore or something because they're like,
It
well,
might break
everything-
into chaos.
right.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
true.
I don't know what to believe.
That is
but
indeed
it's
true.
possible. Like I do believe in a creator. I believe that I believe in the divine, and it's possible that something that's not a coincidence, that something had taken place. But I'm not trying to convince anyone listening. This is fun talk. We're on a podcast.
Right.
It's fun talk. Like, I don't know what to think.
That brother's sweating so damn much. It's actually making me uncomfortable just watching him sweat that much. God damn. I've done 201 podcasts. I've never started sweating like this shit. I'll tell you that for damn sure.
I go back and forth on what the moon is.
Hey, you know what? I'm gonna take a quick break. I gotta piss.
Right on.
Hey, y'all, we interrupt this damn good podcast.
Lack
I ain't getting paid for this.
of human. Yeah, make your body great again. Yeah. Well, speaking of conspiracies, you came across some temple, huh?
Yeah. So let me give you guys a wild one. Like, there's nothing more fun than a lost ancient conspiracy theory. So
Okay.
there's this site in Turkey called Göbekli Tepe. It is the
Okay.
oldest, largest, and most mysterious ancient site ever found. It was only discovered a few decades ago. It's 50
Graham
times
Hancock
larger
knows
than
all about
Stonehenge,
this.
and it's almost 7,000 years older.
They only discovered this a couple of decades ago.
Yeah, excavations only started in 1995, and it completely it's rewriting history because the oldest civilization was supposed to be the Sumerians out of ancient Iraq 6,000 years ago, and this is over 5,000 years older than that, and it's a complete anomaly. It's made up of over 200 pillars that are T-shaped in nature, and what's wild is that 95% of it is still buried, and
Holy
so it's
shit.
yeah, most of it is still under the ground. And what's wild about this is one of my first videos was on this topic, and I revisited it recently and was found out that it was still at only 95% excavated. So like back in 2017, they were talking about 5% excavated. Can't wait to see what is going to be unearthed as they continue excavations. So I recently started looking into it to see if there was any developments, and come to find out that number was still the same, more or less the same. And I'm
That's
like, well,
crazy,
what's the
dude.
holdup? So I started doing some digging.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah, and I'm like,
It seems like stop digging.
Yeah.
Stop digging. Cover it up.
I didn't study archaeology. I studied business, and I just know follow the money. Like, who's paying for this? Like, on everything on Earth now is like, whenever someone has a question why on something, follow the dollar, follow the money. So this is where things get really wild. Is that who now oversees it is a company called the Doges Group, which is a Turkish conglomerate, which is made up of 250 companies, billion-dollar industry, and the CEO is this Farid Sahank, which is a billionaire on the Forbes list. And it turns out that he is a longtime member of the World Economic Forum.
Oh, that's a red flag.
It is. Hey, look, the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab loves us. You have no evidence to suggest he doesn't. Agenda 2030 is a good thing. Just come on, submit. Just kiss the ring.
Right.
It'll be just fine.
So they're funding it all, huh?
Yeah. So back in 2016, I can't believe I was the one to figure this out. This dates back several years, and no one had talked about it. And I just came across it through some sequence of events, some coincidences that caused me to go down the rabbit hole. And it turns out in 2016, they announced this 20-year partnership, literally in Davos at the annual World Economic Forum that was going to give the Doges Group, quote, sole partnership over excavation management and tourism management of the site. And I'm like, I don't understand why. Just to clarify, because some people that tried to debunk me will say, well, the World Economic Forum doesn't run this site. It's the Doges Group. Who cares that the CEO is part of the World Economic Forum? I'm like, well, guys, the World Economic Forum is literally nothing in itself. That organization has no power. What they are, though, is a group of hundreds, maybe even thousands of people that are high-powered elite they're involved in the education system, corporations, and governments all throughout the world. I mean, Klaus Schwab, I'm quoting him directly. He said that they've infiltrated government cabinets and corporations, and they have their global shapers in 450 cities around the world. So, people need to understand that, these people, if you're looking at all the crazy crap going on in the world, a lot of these people are part of the World Economic Forum. You see all these traffic cameras being cut down in London. You know what I'm talking about? Have you seen this stuff?
No.
Okay, so they're trying to. Have you heard of the 15-minute city thing?
No.
Oh, this is from
15-minute city? I think I heard it in passing or something.
Everything's going to be within 15 minutes.
Yes, they want to get rid of fossil. These are the people that are trying to ban gas ovens and stoves.
Right.
These-
Okay.
All in the name of climate change.
Right.
And so, anyway, so I did some digging, and people can see that there's a conspiracy there or not. But here's what I will say: is that the proof is in the pudding, and that they have quote said that they're going to push full-scale excavation for, quote, future generations. That as of right now, that 95% is going to be more or less the same. Then they just say they have not 100% stopped excavations. There are still archaeologists out there today. But any meaningful attempt to get the remaining 120-something pillars that are still under the ground is at an indefinite standstill. So I'm like, wait a second. This is the world's oldest, largest, and most mysterious ancient site on Earth. It dates back to 11,600 years, which is the same date of when that cataclysm happened. There's evidence that this site was purposely buried, which some people think makes it like a time capsule, because it's wild. It's all these circles of pillars, and they all have pictures on them of animals and stuff. And some people have tied it into Noah's Ark because that allegedly foundered on Mount Ararat, which is also in Turkey. This is wild stuff, so never mind. I'm not going down that path. But like, the point is that it has real significance, and there's answers to be found. It's the oldest site on Earth from ancient human civilization. So why on earth would there not be an excavation happening in our lifetime? Like, how could any archaeologist or enthusiast of ancient history be content on living the rest of their life not knowing what's waiting to be unearthed in the world's oldest ancient site? And they built roads on top of it. They planted 4 different tree orchards. Hundreds and hundreds of trees have been planted over ancient ruins. I verified this with an archaeologist that worked at the site, and they say, oh, it's just to protect the site, that the roots will keep the remnants of the ancient stones under there nice and safe. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, the stones were nice and safe because they're buried. What do you mean? You're planting trees, which is further proof that they have no plan for the foreseeable future to excavate the site. So this makes my conspiracy wheels just go through the roof. And again, it speaks for itself. There is no plan to fully excavate the site. So this brings me into what I've been working on now, which is my next video, which will be up later this week. I think this podcast will come out after the video. But there's another site that might be, it's in Indonesia, and it's called Gunung Padang. And it is potentially 27,000 years old, and they're calling it the world's oldest pyramid.
27,000 years old.
Potentially, yes. This is all debated, but long story short, they did
You know how many centuries that is?
that, guys, this would rewrite human history
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is that their ground penetrating radar has identified this subterranean cavity with a tunnel and chamber. There's intense debate. Some people say it's natural. It could be like a lava tube because the hill it's on was volcanic in nature. But a geologist that worked at the site said that there's strong evidence to indicate that it was man-made. And so it's like, okay, like, let's go dig this up. Let's excavate. Let's see what's there. Is it natural? Is it man-made? Because if it's man-made, the implications are massive. Rewrite human history.
Right.
So I did some digging on this, and I'm thinking there's no way the World Economic Forum are associated with this site. I didn't even look. When I made my Gobekli Tepe video, I didn't even look. Because I talked about Gunung Padang in my video after that. And so just the other day, I started doing some digging. I'm like, well, let me just double check. And I couldn't believe what I found. The minister of the Ministry of, and I might butcher this, but it's the Education, Research, Technology, and something whatever of Indonesia. The guy, the political guy that oversees all decision-making at Gobekli Tepe is a member of the World Economic Forum and is a global shaper. And his right-hand man has said that as of right now, excavations at this site is now a last priority, despite the fact that years earlier they said they were willing to allocate, quote, unlimited funding to dig it up. And something has since changed to where, as of right now, it's a total standstill.
That's crazy as fuck.
That's what I didn't know was there. Because, like you said, you can use some type of machinery to get some type of imagery of what's underground.
Radar and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And they have it. Now, again, this is debated. Some
Well,
people
think about it. You can, like, you seen the pictures they put from
MRI?
inside a woman's womb when they're
Yeah,
pregnant?
MRIs and stuff.
Yeah, they can
Yeah.
do that shit underground right now.
Yeah, they're doing that. It's called LiDAR. They can do it from space. They can use a laser from space on a satellite to scan the Sahara Desert and the Amazon rainforest, and they're finding ancient ruins under all that.
Right.
Who knows what other technology they have? We don't know about. Hey, look, they're watching us through the roof right now, just so you know.
I
So
think
this
they
one,
burned down Hawaii.
dude, there's some weird
lasers.
stuff about that. There's some weird stuff about Hawaii.
That is really weird.
I heard people talking about lasers. I'm like, man, you people are crazy. It's so much that's out there we don't know because they don't want us to know.
Yeah, imagine what's top secret. Like they don't tell us.
Yeah.
And so it's like these are just things that we know about. So when it comes to this Gunung Padang site, I'm excited about this video.
All
It's
right.
kind of
I'm about an hour deep in here, man. Podcast, you can watch it yourself. It's on the Twins podcast channel. What are pyramids? Was Atlantis real? Biblical aliens. Twins podcast featuring Jimmy Corsetti. I'm gonna go ahead and end it off here. This is just a podcast that I was looking forward to watching because these are interesting topics. I really don't have too much to say about this, as I really don't think I'm not too well versed on any of this stuff. I've heard a lot. I can, as you've seen probably through watching this, I can begin to say things or infer what's going to be said next just because I've heard and have seen so many of these videos. Obviously, I'm not a fucking ancient historian, or am I a person who does like a ridiculous amount of research on any of this, but it is interesting nonetheless. And I think that hopefully some of you guys watching this, have an interest in some of this stuff that I talk about. This will be something that I definitely want to go ahead and mention from here on out a little bit more, just because it is one of my interests. And it almost brings me back to like a childlike state when I start like hearing about this stuff, or researching it, or any of that. It reminds me of my childhood. So appreciate you guys for watching. I'm gonna watch any more Jimmy Corsetti, or just any ancient historians or conspiracies, let me know. Those are some of my favorite videos that I could ever make. So yeah, to end it off, next podcast is gonna be on Thursday. Tapping with that, episode 202. Appreciate for taking your time. And like I said, next podcast is gonna be on Thursday. Y'all have a good night, man.